This. All right, the Browns made a signing today, not one to make you go to Las Vegas and bet on the Browns, and it is Jaylen Strong. He was probably surprised when he drove away from Berea, maybe went to Strongsville, so they named a city after me already. 25 years old, 3 NFL seasons, tore his ACL after just one game with Jacksonville in 17, missed all of 18. In his career of 20 career games, 31 receptions and 330 yards and 4 touchdowns. All right, so what do we know about this guy? And the injury doesn't look good to me.
No, I mean, you hate what an ACL can do to a guy, although we've seen fast recoveries more recently, guys coming back. But, just kind of taking a flyer on a guy who's good enough to be a third-round pick, has had a little bit of production in the league. Bring him into camp, see what he can do,
and throw darts at the wall and see what happens. What kind of receiver is he?
Coming out of college, I actually kind of liked him. I haven't watched a ton of him in the NFL.
Well, there wasn't a ton of him in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a ton to watch. So, I think he's a guy that can maybe find a spot as a fourth guy, depending what happens with maybe Rashard Higgins or Brashad Perriman.
Right.
But I wouldn't have very high expectations of him.
Okay, just another signing. And
yeah.
In fact, fans will go out to Berea to watch, say, who's that guy out there?
Yeah, they'll say, oh, that's the guy they signed back in February,
yeah,
wasn't
right,
it? Yeah.
Right. It was right after the Kareem Hunt deal. Yeah. All right, so the thought is, I would have thought that the Browns, with the kind of money they have on the salary cap, I thought it was number 1 or number 2 in the league, but it turns out they're a little further down. Let's take a look at where the Browns are as far as salary cap money is concerned and what they've got to spend and what everybody else has to spend. There you go. Indianapolis, look at that, $107 million. New York Jets at 102, Buffalo at 83, the Browns at 78, San Francisco at 76. So that's a lot of money, a lot of estimated cap space, but it's not the be-all, end-all.
Yeah, but it's enough to do what they want to do this offseason. Obviously, the one theme with most of those teams is they have young quarterbacks. Andrew Luck has signed a new contract, but you look at Buffalo, the Jets, the Browns. They have young quarterbacks on cheaper deals.
So that's why the money's spread out.
Yeah,
that
so
way.
You've got a little more room to spend, and San Francisco is on that list. They're an interesting team to watch because they have Jimmy Garoppolo. I want to put some pieces around him.
All right, so that's good and bad because. Once you think the window's open for a while here with the Browns, but it may not be because of what you just said. You're going to have to win in the next 2 or 3 years because all of a sudden Baker Mayfield becomes, 30 million, 50 million? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what quarterback contracts are going to be then. And there's a new labor agreement coming up, I believe, after 2021. There could be some labor issues. But, right now you've got a chance to spend money on guys and bring guys in. I don't think John Dorsey's going to go crazy this offseason.
No,
but I think he is going to do some things to really supplement this
Actually,
roster.
the word got out, there's a lot of money to spend. Then the last time he spoke to the media about this, or in interviews, pretty much said, well, we've got some, but I wouldn't look to more than 1 or 2 players with it, which surprised me.
And the thing is now in the NFL, so many of these teams, I mean, you just looked at that list, so many of these teams have money to spend. The cap just keeps going up. So, having a ton of cap space isn't quite as advantageous as it used to be, but it still helps to have it.
Going back to that theory about the quarterbacks not signing yet, does that mean that maybe the higher-priced veterans might be signed? Or would the higher-priced veterans be the guys that get shut out?
I think you would go. I mean, Jarvis Landry's a really good example. Obviously, still kind of a younger guy, but the Browns went and traded for him and gave him a $75 million extension, which was a ton of money for Jarvis Landry. But after 2019, they can move on from that contract if they want. So that's really where it affects guys, is that structure of contract. Yeah, it's going to be really front-loaded.
Yes, but if you get Jarvis Landry type guys, you're going to be happy with it even if you overspend, because I think he delivered last year.
Yeah, I would think so, and as we've seen, it hasn't done anything to the Browns' cap space.
Right. All right, so what are they going to be? Let's say they're looking at 2 or 3 guys. What position is the biggest, and which position would you rate as most important?
I think the most important position, and maybe the position you'd spend money on, might be a little different. I think this team could really use an interior lineman. I just don't know that there's going to be a guy out there for them to get. But wide receiver, that could be a position that's maybe 2nd or 3rd on the list. But I think you can go spend money there because in the draft, we've seen you use a first-round pick on a receiver, it can take time for that guy to develop if he develops at all. So
but this team doesn't have a number 1.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you go out and sign Tyrell Williams from Los Angeles, the Chargers. that's a guy you might overpay a little bit, but he can come in and be a real deep threat for this football team.
And they have a story to tell now that they were just wishing in other years when they would tell their story.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate story.
Yeah, you get to come and play. If you're Tyrell Williams and you're looking at Phillip Rivers, obviously that's a great quarterback.
Yep.
You might not want to leave that, but Baker Mayfield's pretty good too. He's not at Phillip Rivers level yet, but he's got a chance to get there.
No, but he's a Phillip Rivers type,
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, and actually, there are some similarities in the way they play and that chip on their shoulder and things like that.
How old is he, 39?
Phillip Rivers, I don't know if he's quite that old. He's definitely in his mid-30s.
Yeah, well, that'll be an interesting pick. All right, so wide receiver, what else?
I would say, so we've got interior lineman, wide receiver. I think linebacker is an area to watch,
Okay.
especially with Steve Wilkes coming in and a new defensive coordinator. And I think you can always boost your secondary.